So for a number of years, I was at MIT, and Barmack, one of the members of my group, he would envision what AR and VR would look like in the next 30 years. Here's some drawings. So I also had the distinct honor of teaching the first class on the planet making apps for Google Glass when it first came out. And I had 30 headsets. I was real popular on campus. And then by the end of the semester, I think people were more interested in the technology you see in this picture on the other side of the glass. Now, $1 billion, I think, was spent on Google Glass. It had, it was a wearable, had a lot of opportunity, but it was 2010 technology. In 2013, there was no hand tracking. It was, I think it's no longer called AR, it's called assisted reality by Google. And I actually think if they had gone after the health and medical community, it could have actually done really well. It was trying to be all things to all people. Also at MIT, every quarter, Daniel would come and teach our group, and we didn't have to hold class for like a month because he had so much to say and people had so many things they wanted to do. So this is 1903, Kitty Hawk. My grandfather was born that year. That's me hanging out with my grandfather, good guy. He had an internship with this man, Thomas Edison. And I had this image of him standing at his desk, this is his actual desk, and helping him. I think there were hundreds of interns. But my grandfather had a pretty interesting life, seeing the world just kind of go exponential. He told me that he would go to farm to farm to farm selling stethoscopes. For the longest time, I thought my grandfather was this great health guy. Turns out he was selling stereoscopes here. And much later in life, he explained to me, he said, John, I would go to these people and show them how through stereo they could see the world and see 3D. And he said it was such a privilege to do that. So here I am standing before you, and I feel like I'm doing something similar. This augmented reality headset allows you to experience 3D objects and manipulate them and collaborate with them. So when you think of computers, desktop, laptop, mobile, what's the next wave of how we're going to interact with technology? Now, for some, they think it's this, virtual reality. And in 1996, that big helmet, that was what the technology was. And in 2015, Facebook said, we cannot miss this next wave, and spent $2 billion buying Oculus. But when you do VR, when you have like a toaster on your head, and that was funny, by the way, and you're taken to this other place, there's some limitations, and there's some limitations for the health and medical world. You could get dizzy, you might not be able to see the physical world and get information over it, and it's harder to collaborate. So let me take you back to the first AR headset. So I talked to Ivan Sutherland the other day. Here he is. He created this device in 1969, 49 years ago, and he called it the Swords of Damocles. He said, John, I just wanted to see a cube floating in Earth. And he did. And in May 22nd, 1977, a lot of us saw AR for the first time depicted in movies. Imagine if Google Hangouts or surgery, you could beam someone in 3D. And then the military has been subsidizing AR for years. And I bet you there's a generation of youth who would go to a sporting game, like a football game, and wonder where the yellow line is. So, AR is all around us. And imagine if your future home, you could use every surface to put information. What if in hospitals, in medical settings, this was a way to interact with data, some of the data that we just heard about. And then Pokemon Go. Statistically, millennials are going to take 27,500 selfies of themselves. That's 52 hours a year where they're having technology look at them. And what was interesting about the Pokemon Go moment, that within a year, 6 billion miles were traversed on the planet by people trying to interact with things beyond themselves. So I think there's some real implications here. And then in enterprise, people are using tablets to look at gauges to get information. We could do this with health. And then here's a digital twin to train someone on how to open up an engine and put it back together. You can have a digital twin. What if the selfie wasn't of your face but was of your body? And you could look at a digital twin of yourself and check on your cholesterol or some other items. And then here is Wall Street. Some folks are depicting the S&P 500 to see trends. What if you could see health trends much better in 3D? We've heard a lot of presentations up here where you're looking at Excel. Your visual cortex is stimulated much more if you can interact with data like this. And then this is one that I don't think has gotten out there much, but maybe we could start it here. Heightened reality. What if you were able to see things that your eye couldn't see? Like this is a dead person and the bones were put in a chair because the x-ray would not be healthy on someone. But what if there are sensors that could help you see things, and what does that mean for AR? We also need to bring down the cost of AR. This is a cardboard for AR, kind of like a periscope. And this is like a image that Daniel will love. I think we're more hyperly connected now, but we're looking down like this. As we really get into this AR world, we can look out. And I think eventually it's going to be a strip of glass or even brain-computer interface. And what's interesting about AR is that there's these converging factors. It's not just Moore's law. There's also the control, from explicitly hitting keys to implicitly technology is reading us, to content going from 2D pictures to LiDAR, being able to scan 3D, or connectivity. We're right near Qualcomm, 5G's right around the corner, chips are all ready for that. And these four things make it really interesting. And on the hype curve, people know about VR, and AR is sort of the stepchild. But I think AR is going to be 5 times bigger than VR, and there are all these startups getting in on this, and I think health could be an area where it leads. Now, one of my friends from MIT would say to me, whenever I go back to Sierra Leone, I would notice my countrymen were not wearing the prosthetics that they could wear. They were missing limbs from the Civil War. And he said it's because we are not good at connecting biology and technology. And when you think of the last 3 waves, desktop, laptop, mobile, we are conforming to technology. We're using the mouse. And I think in this next wave, we're going to be able to use neuroscience to understand how we interact with 3D and how we collaborate in a way that we could be much more efficient. So I'm proud to say that Meta, the company that I work at, we've been collaborating with Deloitte Digital. They're a joy to work with, and Lucille Packard Children's Hospital, and we've been beta testing using AR. This is Jerry Grant, one of the top neurosurgeons in the country, and we've been brainstorming with his team. Here's some of the Deloitte folks. There's a booth showing what we've come up with, and we're able to take a CAT scan and MRI, all sorts of information, and merge into 3D and actually interact with it, and we're going to show you a little bit of that. So the last part of what I want to share is, this is 1905, Buffalo. And that's my grandmother. She was born in 1905. And she left Buffalo when she got a scholarship at 15, didn't go back. Her brother stayed. And there weren't as many opportunities for him. And I've been going back, and she was very successful. She went on to New York. I've been going to Buffalo recently, and I showed a bunch of docs there what this headset could do in the medical space. And this guy in particular got really excited. This is the chairman of surgery and the head of the program for the new medical school they're building. And he said, John, let me show you this. It's been 4 years in the making, $500 million project, Buffalo Billions. And we went up in the elevator. I wore a hard hat. And he said, look at this, morgue. What if the future of the medical students could have digital cadavers? And so we're working on building that in. He said, this is where students are going to learn. What if we had AR woven throughout this hospital? And he said, this is where students are going to collaborate. What if no monitors, no mice, and they're looking at 3D objects? And then he got really excited right here. He knocked on the glass window. He said, here, John, I have 4 of these ORs. And he said, I want to make the best innovative OR, 3D, hologram, tech, AR, and I want the world to come to Buffalo and see what we're doing. So then he took me to where the buffalo wing was created, not the buffalo wing, but the buffalo sauce wing, you know what I mean there. And this guy's in charge of startups. And we're coming up with a plan to make this, the capital of AR health. And Dr. Schweitzberg is in surgery he's performing surgery right now, but he recorded this message that he wanted you to hear about how he's going to do this. It's like throwing the gauntlet down. So if you're part of other medical systems. So, and this is Ken, neurosurgeon. He's also... John,
there are a couple things that I'm particularly excited about.
Can you hear that?
One is the ability to finally interact with our display images, which has been impossible in the past. Second is the ability to use AR to overlay the guided information from CAT scans and MRI directly onto the tissue, which is very exciting and will lead to much safer surgery in the future. And the third is to be able to bring information into these environments from the medical record, from other aspects of the operating room.
All right, so for time, you're going to have to believe the rest of it. So this system, 17,000 people are there. We want to make this the center of that. And now I want to show you some examples of this. Who's excited about this so far? Woo! Okay, so Connor, so what you're seeing is 2D, but what he's seeing is 3D. You have two eyes. We project it in such a way that he's manipulating it. So imagine a medical student learning about the eye this way. Can you go inside the eye? Yeah. So you can, really experience it. And you can make it bigger, grab it with both hands. So 90-degree field of view, photorealistic, immersive, so you can move the items. So this is part of the brain. So if you're looking at a aneurysm, imagine a radiologist taking a picture and talking to all the docs, all the nurses, the patient, the loved ones, all connected with an operation. They all looking at it 3D and together. And I have another headset here in my Pelican, and I could be looking at that same object as he is, whether it's located here or somewhere else. And imagine, how that can help in safety and making sure people are all on the same page. So you got the heart. Yep. So take out the earth. So, we've seen a lot of Excel charts. What if you could see patterns, in 3D rendered on the earth? Oh, I got a joke here. So if he can make this brain as big as this room, and that's how big Daniel Kraft's brilliant brain is. So he could experience it. And you could walk in. This is synapses firing. Here, go walk in. He'll be fine. Don't worry. Yeah. You can go ooh ah if you think this is kind of cool. Yeah. Here, maybe show one other item. Oh, show a monitor. So the other thing is he can have as many monitors here along here. You could you could have multiple feeds from different places. So instead of looking down like this, and I've heard a lot of docs, they'll send a junior doc to take a picture of something to bring it to them, and we think there are all sorts of efficiencies here. So this is just a quick example of some things we could do. Take a look at the Deloitte booth. That's what we're doing with Stanford, where you can actually look at real person's data, and you could slice it and see how it's all combined. And come join us in Buffalo, and we want to do this around the country and make Buffalo a real example of what's possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.